morning. Thank you for having me. I want to talk this morning about purpose and intentional culture. And I've been asked to talk about some hurdles that you face when you start a company, so I'll get to some of those too. But first, I want to talk about the Seahawks. Apparently, I'm not the only one. So on Sunday, as we know, our Seahawks will play in the Super Bowl. But what I want to say is they have no business playing in the Super Bowl. Of course, they belong there. And they've more than earned it. But this is an underdog team that no one ever expected to get there. So I wonder, how did it happen? So I'm not a football fan. John strategically put two Canadians at the beginning of this talk for some reason. So I like hockey, I even like curling. True story. But I have drawn surprising inspiration from the Seahawks. So for me, there are really two stories that matter. The first is when the game was over at Super Bowl last year. The confetti was dropping, everyone was leaving, we were all happy. Russell Wilson gave a speech, and not many people were listening, but of course it got replayed so many times. And in that speech, he made this question that his father had stated to him early in his life. His question was to the team at the beginning of the season, why not us? Why not us? Why can't we win the Super Bowl? So I came into the office the day after that, and I thought about it so much, and I asked our team at Koru. It was such an inspiration. I said to them, why not us? Why can't we be the team that transforms education? So now we have that graffiti on our wall at Koru in huge letters that says, why not you? The second story I want to tell is the championship game that they won. Again, I don't know all the titles and names. But the last game that they won, which was amazing, at the end of that, Russell Wilson gave another speech, and he said, we had no doubt. Things were going really badly. We were thinking we were going to lose. And I think other people were thinking we were going to lose. But we had no doubt. So I actually don't believe that he had no doubt whatsoever. I don't know if anyone else shares that. But what I do believe is that he and that team never give up. That they believe in each other and in themselves, even through anything. And it's stunningly difficult how hard that is when things are going badly. So I relate to those things because they're true for me. I remember a day, it was probably the hardest day of my career in many ways. It was in a startup, I won't say which one. And it feels, when you're in a startup, it often feels like you're running for a cliff. So you have to go fast, and therefore you're spending money, and you never have enough. So in that case, there's always a cliff in front of you. And you have to do your best to hope that when you get to the edge of that cliff, there's a bridge, or there's a platform, or maybe there's a parachute that you can grab as you're going over it. So you're always fundraising. On this day, we had been fundraising for a while, not too long, and things were going well. We pitched some of the top venture capitalists down in Silicon Valley. And we gotten all the way. It wasn't just one meeting. We gotten kind of all the way, and we thought, this is great. We're gonna nail this. We got it. And in one day, I was rejected on phone calls by not one, not two, but 4 top-tier venture capitalists within a space of maybe 4 hours. So it was a setback, to say the least. And in that moment, it was difficult. Did I have no doubt? I knew that we would make it happen. I knew we would raise money. I knew we would make it work. But I knew we had to change course. That's true too. But that's what I think he meant by no doubt. Is that you're going to get it done. And you don't lose faith. So I think the reason the Seahawks resonate with me is that they're so determined. And at Koru, we call this grit. It's our mantra. When you hit the wall, how do you figure out a way, when you're facing that brick wall, to go through it or over it, or around it, or under it, as a team. And that's important in a startup. So if you're thinking about starting something or doing it now, I'll say two things. You will have to make major sacrifices for your startup, and you'll have to make a lot of them. And you need to authentically believe. You can never give up. And especially after you raise money, by the way, there is no option to bail. You can't quit, even if you want to. So you have to be gritty. You have to believe. You can never give up. And you have to kind of be a force of nature, by the way, like Russell Wilson, to make a startup work. If your belief is not bigger than your doubt, it just won't work. So you can have doubt, but you can never give up, just like the Seahawks. All right, so now, here I am. I had the hardest time trying to figure out what to say at this conference. I've been thinking about it for weeks, and I'm pretty sure John Cook will never invite me back because I sent him these slides last night at about 6:30. I'm sure I'm not the only one. Here's why I had such trouble. I don't think of myself at all as an entrepreneur, and I have never actually thought about starting companies. I've co-founded 2 companies, and as of today, we raised our seed or A round yesterday for Koru. I think I've raised 7 rounds of financing, including seed all the way to IPO. But I'm not a serial entrepreneur. I started my first company when I was 27, and my second one when I was 43. So that's a big gap, right? In both cases, I got this crazy feeling. And I got the same feeling both times for different reasons. And I just knew that I had to do it. And for me, that reason is called purpose. So for me, it's more about purpose than being an entrepreneur. I'm going to tell you my story about the first one. At 27, I co-founded a company called Onvia with my dear friend from college, Glenn Ballman. It was the era of the dot-com craze, and our goal was to become the Amazon of small business and surf the e-commerce wave. So for us, those days were all about achieving as a team together and winning. That was our purpose at the time. So our timing was good and we worked really hard, we grew really fast. We started the company in 97, by 98 our revenues were $1 million, in 99 they were 27 million, and by 2000 we hit 147 million in revenue. So we weren't a dot-com with no revenue. On March 1st, 2000, we went public. We raised about $200 million, and we grew to 500 people. On day 1 of trading, our stock went from $21 to almost $70. We were the hottest place in Seattle to work. And it was so much fun. We loved each other. It was a blast. John Cook wrote about us in the Seattle PI. Those were the days. So we all know the story of the dot-com meltdown. 6 months after our IPO, we were trading at $3. Within a year, our stock was at $1, headed for 65 cents. Revenue in 2001 was $17 million. It was absolutely brutal. But the worst part of this for me was not the economic loss, because it was all fictitious and on paper anyway. But the most horrible thing for me was that when we hit our brick wall, our team didn't hold together. And our tribe turned on us. Our team crumbled. I would go on the Yahoo chat rooms and I would read true and painful stories about us personally. It felt like somebody was stabbing my baby. So it's taken me probably 14 years to understand the why and how important this is and the true lesson from here. This is probably one of the most important lessons I've learned about starting a company, and I'd love to share it with you, and I hope that it's helpful. The reason that happened is that we did not invest intentionally in our culture. This meant that we didn't have a solid foundation. We were young, we were athletes, and we were Canadians. So we had a culture, right? But we didn't lay the groundwork. And as we grew fast, our team was not solid. When the market collapsed, I went on TV and I said, we're not worried. We have $250 million in the bank. We told our team we have a plan, and they did not believe us. And the reason they did not believe us is because we were lying. Fair enough. And we didn't have the answers. But we never created an environment where it was okay to not have the answer. It was culturally unacceptable to fail. We didn't have an accountable culture, and it wasn't clear what goals people should get rewarded for. So I learned a lot of painful things at Onvia, and the most important one is this: that intentional culture is the alchemy of a startup. It is the thing that makes a startup work, and when the shit hits the fan, it's the thing that matters. And the shit will hit the fan. It's the thing that makes the team figure it out together when you go through it, when you hit that brick wall, and you say to yourself, let's figure out how to go over it, under it, or around it. The other piece of this that I would love to give you as a takeaway is that you have to imprint your culture on your company before it's 50 people. It's the rule of 50, I call it. You have until you have 50 employees to imprint your culture, and you have to do it with a clear set of principles and values. If you don't do it before you're 50 people, I believe that it's nearly impossible. So I left Onvia because the purpose had changed and it wasn't mine. After Onvia, I worked in a big technology company. I was the COO of a global nonprofit in the education space. And I got married. I got divorced. I had kids. A lot of life happened. And it wasn't until the next time that I felt that purpose feeling that I started another company. And here I am. So purpose hit me hard at Koru. I had that same feeling, but it was stronger, and I just knew I had to do Koru. Koru's purpose is to level the playing field so that college graduates can reach their potential and can have great jobs, and so that fast-growing companies can hire intentionally. But let's be clear about something. Starting a company when you're 43 years old and you're a single mom is crazy. There are so many sacrifices. I mean, the kids still need to go to their soccer games, and generally the play performances happen when you're on a fundraising trip. And then when you have to come and give a speech, and you have to prepare for it the night before, there is a school open house you have to go to, and so you just give yourself a break, and you use notes, which I don't usually do. So my life can look like a little bit like a train wreck sometimes, but it's also a great time to start a company for me. Because this time, I know that I need to build an intentional culture, and I know myself well enough to know how to do it. So, 15 years later, I get another chance. Koru is rooted in principles, values, and it's a purpose-driven culture. We are not perfect, and we are always learning. But I want to share with you a couple of examples of how we do it in practice. Rahul talked about culture, and it's so important, but sometimes it feels just amorphous. So how do you do it? What does it mean? Here's what we do. We have a culture of we. And we hold each other accountable to be our best selves. In my case, I show up every day as the best leader that I can be, because I know if I don't do that, I risk not achieving the purpose. Second of all, we fail fast and cheap. At Onvia, it was not okay to not have the answer. And when we were blindsided, we weren't honest with ourselves. And we weren't honest with our team. At Koru, we take failure bows. We have each other's back, and And there's no shame in making mistakes. We own those mistakes. We practice what we call radical authenticity. I learned the hard way that if you're inauthentic, you pay the price. We have hard conversations in the moment, and we believe that feedback is a gift. Finally, we believe that we can do anything, but we know that we can't do everything. So it comes down to choices, and we do our best to make hard choices. So I want to leave you with these three things. First, your belief has to be stronger than your doubt. You have to believe, and you cannot quit. Second of all, ask yourself if this thing you are doing is purposeful to you. You are going to make massive sacrifices, and they will be painful sacrifices. So make it count for something that matters to you. Third, as you build your companies and their cultures, what are the foundations that you are going to lay and build them on? Because the guarantee is that things will change. The company that you start will not be the company that it becomes. You may change products entirely. You may even change industries like we did at Onvia. But if you have built the foundation, you will have the wherewithal to weather any storm. After all, why not you? Thank you very much.